Today's story is titled Desperate Times for Desperate Meat, Where the Weak Seek Peace, Don't Believe It, by Sir Michael. The link to the story is in the description below. Please enjoy. Most great things start with raw emotion, passion, perseverance, redemption. I'd been thinking about ending it. It was a parasite, a persistent echo that had nestled in the back of my skull. It was my first thought in the morning, and the last to tuck me in at night. I hadn't left my apartment in, I don't even know, a month, maybe more. Time had melted into one long, suffocating hour. Day and night lost their meaning in the blue haze of my monitor. I shifted in my chair. The old leather clung to my back like Velcro, peeling with each breath. The only light in the room came from the screen. The only warmth was synthetic. I was stuck, trapped somewhere between rotting and remembering what life used to feel like. I hated today and feared tomorrow. The numbness, the pit in my stomach, the gnawing ache that I'd wasted every ounce of promise. I just wanted it all to stop, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. Blood made me nauseous, pills felt uncertain, and I couldn't handle needles, not even for drugs strong enough to silence the static. I know this is bleak, but I need you to understand why. I now know nothing is worth it, but in the echo chamber of my mind, the choir of insecurities and regrets sang a chorus so loud I was petrified in a state of stagnation. I tried everything. I read articles like 5 Ways to Turn Your Life Around and 10 Steps to Find Fulfillment. The kind of fluffy type by someone who's never been down in the hole. None of it meant anything. None of it stuck. I was a ghost in a basement apartment, the only sign of life being the soft click of my mouse and the occasional flicker of my screen. Then I stopped pretending. I typed the words, assisted suicide. Google didn't like that. Warnings, red flags, crisis lines. I ignored them, kept digging. Most of the results were studies or debates, opinions, ethics. But then I found it, buried on the 54th page. A workout form of all things. No ads, no banners, just threads. Odd, but clean. I clicked out of curiosity. Scrolling past fitness posts and meal plans, I found a hyperlink near the bottom of the page. Desperate times for desperate meat. I clicked. The page loaded slowly, like an ancient relic from the 90s. Blood red font on a yellowed background. A pixelated frowny face with X's for eyes. JPEGs of raw meat on bone. Primitive, ugly, relatable. There were chat rooms, blog sections, names for the rooms like The Grill and The Right Guys. I didn't know if this was a joke, a diet cult, or something else entirely. But the phrase kept playing in my head. I am just meat. I clicked into The Right Guys. It had 3 people in the room. It was the only group that had any population. Username HowDog360. Hey, it's fresh meat! Welcome, welcome! Username Shefaroth. Fresh meat! Fresh meat! I hadn't been in a chat room in years. The throwback hit like a blunt object. Nostalgic, absurd. It prompted me to choose a username. Raygun87. God, hadn't thought of that since my WoW days. Hi. We've been waiting for someone new to join. What brings you to our neck of the woods? I thought you could help me with something. We might be able to help. I stared at the screen. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I didn't want to spell it out. Didn't want to say it. After moments of silence. Cat got your tongue, friend? I was about to close the window when another name popped up. Toffer 1995 had entered the room. "Fresh meat! 2 for 1! "Hello. I was told to come here. I wanted to be quick and painless." "You don't get to choose." "Fine. I just want it done." "Same." It was all I could manage to type. A whisper, a confession, a surrender. "He came around!" "Wonderful! Just drop your phone numbers in the chat and we'll take it from there." My hand trembled. I typed it out, and in that moment, I felt something. Relief. It's odd. It was something to look forward to. I was surprised what you could find on the internet, not needing to go to any dark web forums or anything. I don't know how any of that worked. I didn't put much thought into any of it. How could things get any worse? Worst case scenario, they'd steal my credit card info or something. Have fun with that. In the isolated prison of my head, I couldn't imagine there could be a different type of suffering. The dread of contact kept my eyes glued to the screen, waiting for it to ring. A day passed, then another, then another. Silence. I started to think I got my hopes up for nothing. But then, at 1:45 a.m., my phone lit up with the first text I'd received in months. "If this is what you want, meet us at the parking garage on downtown. You have until 3:30. They were local. Out of all the thousands of people I could have been speaking to, they were in my city. How lucky was I? Like I was racing the school bus again, I bolted upstairs. As I opened the door, the dry, cold air washed over me. An old, forgotten familiarity. The outside world, still here. I punched in the address, 3.4 miles. 1 hour to what I thought would be sweet relief. The streetlights made me wince. The harsh orange glow singed my eyes. To anyone watching, I probably looked like a mole surfacing for the first time in years. The desert chill clawed at my bones. My skeletal frame had nothing left to fight the cold. I should have brought a jacket, though what would it matter? Every step was one closer to silence. The easy way out, or so I thought. I sent a message. Almost there. The reply came back quick. "We'll be waiting." Even in my wrecked state, I knew how surreal this all was. I might as well have been walking into my own murder. But doubt never showed up. Not once. Instead, the walk became a mirror. One long stretch of pavement forcing me to reflect on how I got here. So many dominoes had to fall for this to happen. But who could I blame, really? No one but myself. I've been up Shit Creek for years now. Paddle long gone, raft left to driftwood. Everything spiraled the moment Riley died. Car crash. An F-150 folded his little Mitsubishi like wet paper. Riley had dreams, big ones. 1 semester away from graduating, a future carved out and waiting. His notebook was still on his desk, half filled with screenplays and movie pitches. All of it, every goddamn ounce of that future, erased in a blink because some asshole thought they owned the road. Didn't even hit the brakes. Riley's story ended there, on the side of I-10, wrapped in yellow tape and lowered in a closed casket. And the man who killed him got away with a busted bumper. I had people who tried to pull me out. I really did. But I sank too deep. Harder and harder for them to keep reaching until they stopped trying. My girlfriend left. I don't blame her. Time marched on, and I stayed behind. Now here I am, destitute and self-loathing. 1 more mile. I almost felt relieved. No more pain, no more disappointment. I wouldn't let anyone down again. I nearly started to skip. As I reached the final stretch, the district buzzed with nightlife. Bars overflowed with laughter and bass lines. I'd spent plenty of nights in those places, pit stops on the road to ruin. But I kept walking, further from the noise, closer to the end. The parking garage loomed, condemned, forgotten. Massive potholes cratered the concrete, cracks webbed through its foundation. A blinking flashlight flickered a few levels above. I couldn't make out the figure holding it, but it had to be them. I marched up, level after level, until I reached the 4th floor. A van sat parked in the center, the flashlight locked on me, blinking steadily. I was a mayfly to the lamp. As I approached, the beam scorched my vision. Through the spots, I saw them. A man in a suit and a Guy Fawkes mask. One in a hoodie and jeans wearing a horse mask. Another in flannel with a welding mask. To me, this was it. The end. To them, a night out playing dress-up. My heart pounded. My mind was numb. My body in pieces. Suit held the flashlight. He stopped blinking it and started to giggle, then snort. Horsehead spoke. "You ray gun?" "Yeah." It barely escaped my throat. I was panicking. It hit me then. This wasn't any different than doing it myself. I held my breath as they closed in. Welder said nothing. He just stood up, pulled a gun, and pressed the cold barrel to my forehead. I closed my eyes and took one final breath. "Thank you." Laughter erupted from Suit. Then, the age-old battle of solid steel versus human skull. Skull lost once again. Heat spilled down my back, my ears rang. Vision bled into black. I collapsed to my knees, drifting in and out of darkness. The last thing I saw was the welder, crouched in front of me. He leaned in, close, put a finger to his mask where lips would be. Shh. Then he brought his boot down on my nasal bone. I would fade in and out of consciousness. I was in a moving vehicle. People were talking around me, but I couldn't make out anything. My head throbbed like a drumbeat from hell as I came to. I was hogtied and gagged, the cloth across my mouth soaked with blood from my nose, making every breath a desperate struggle. 2 of the masked men sat silently across from me in the back of the van, watching with bored eyes. Another figure lay beside me, long, dirty blonde hair matted with dry blood. His eyes flickered from captor to captor before finally locking onto mine. Toffer. This had to be the other one from the chat room. Looks like we got ourselves into the same situation. The low murmur of conversation died the moment they realized we were both awake. The road beneath us rattled and growled, uneven terrain somewhere far from help. I didn't know where we were headed or what they planned to do with us. Then again, we had surrendered our lives willingly, hadn't we? The van jolted to a stop. Without ceremony, they yanked Toffer out into the twilight. The sky was still mostly dark, but the sun had started to bleed over the horizon. No lights, no signs of civilization, just desert. I tried to twist my head around to see what they were doing to him, but I couldn't. Maybe it's better that way. Minutes passed, then I heard it. Pleading. Not for his life, but to not be left behind. The tires hissed against the sand as they peeled away, leaving Toffer to whatever fate they designed for him. We drove on. What felt like hours passed in silence. Then, it was my turn. The van lurched to a halt once more. I was dragged out and thrown onto the desert floor. By now, the sun had fully risen, casting long shadows across the lifeless landscape. They cut the bindings that had twisted my limbs into agony, finally tearing the gag from my mouth. I took a breath, my first clean one in what felt like forever. It tasted like dust and iron. They shackled me to a boulder, like some ancient sacrifice, and stood over me, their masks betraying no emotion, but I could feel the smugness radiating off them like heat off the sand. One of them, Soot, approached with a water bottle. He cracked the seal, took a deep swig, then hawked a thick wad of spit into it before tossing it onto my chest. He laughed, his stupid, snorted laugh. Horsehead came next, dropped a bag of trail mix beside me like he was feeding a stray dog. What the hell was this? Pity? Mercy? A joke? Then came the welder. The barrel of his pistol hung low, then rose slowly toward me before he flipped it around, handle first, dangling it like keys in front of a child. "Come on," he said, voice muffled by his mask. "Work for it." I reached, and as I reached, he pulled back, again and again, until my body stretched, twisted past its limit, my shoulder ready to rip free. "Just kill me," I begged. "Do it yourself." He placed the gun just out of reach, turned, and walked to the van. No threats, no monologue, just a silent farewell. Then the engine roared to life. The van kicked up sand and dust like shrapnel as they tore off, leaving me behind in a whirlwind cloak of their departure, left alone to my pain once again. The sun was quick to do its job, and the ray of heat started to bake me. A slime shadow was created by the stone, and I did everything I could to keep within it. Panic ensued. This is what I wanted, right? But this was torture. I'd have to wait for dehydration to go to work, something that would surely take days. I was gonna burn alive and dry from the inside out. I looked at the water bottle. The clear secretion hung in the water, mimicking a lava lamp. I'd be damned if I had to drink that. Maybe if I held my breath, it would be over quicker. Who was I kidding? That trick never worked. I slammed my head against the rock. The pain was insufferable. My adrenaline started to wear off. I had managed to reopen the thin scab that had crusted over my previous head wound. The wind stung with every breath through my shattered nose. For the first time in a long time, I cried. Emotions flooded over me with the break of the dam. As much as I thought I wanted it, I would not die here. I gripped my hands in the hot sun, feeling every grain, taking everything in, clearer than ever in my concussed state. I could see far into the horizon, heat lines blurring the vast nothingness, a wasteland through and through. A couple rocks, plenty of cactus, and all the sand you could ever want. I stared into the sun, hoping for answers. Tire tracks were still present. The shifting of sand may obscure the track, but I have a path. All was not lost after all. I struggled to find a way to get the shackle off. I kicked off the rock with all my force, hoping I could knock the chain free, but all it did was tire me out. I tried to slip it off, but even with my bony wrist, it was too tight. I knew how to get out. It was just going to hurt. A lot. The way I saw it, I had 3 options. I could die slow. I could have temporary pain, then end it quick. Or I could survive. I dreamt of death for years, but now that it was a reality, it wasn't exactly what I had imagined. The fear of death had taken me again, but followed by all those I wanted to make amends with. Let them know I want to get better, that I wasn't a lost cause. even if I had to convince them like they so desperately tried to convince me. What would Riley think? I wasted my life because he lost his? No, I knew what I had to do. If I managed to break or dislocate my thumb, I could likely slip the shackle off. It was just gonna suck. I psyched myself out several times. "Come on, motherfucker! Do it!" I shouted out. The words ripped through my throat. I hadn't screamed in so long. I gripped my thumb, closed my eyes, and screamed a war cry. My thumb bone cracked back, popped like a bottle cap. The sharp, stabbing jolt radiated up my wrist with every thud of my escalated heartbeat. My ears began to ring and my vision blackened around the edges. My thumb dangled limp. The raw pain burned in my hand. With the agonizing attempt to remove the shackle, I was able to squeeze through my damaged hand. The pressure built up until my hand slipped free. I tried to relocate my poor thumb. I thought it was easy, like how they did it for sports. I was wrong. The pain made me feel faint. I laid back against the boulder, catching my breath. I looked up to see vultures circling ahead. Fuck you. You bastards will have to find another meal. Getting to my feet, I turned to see my prison. Dark crimson had outlined my head and down my back, as it conjugated and clumped in the sand. The sight made my eyes rattle, and I let out a dry heave. I couldn't stand the sight and looked away, greeted by a forgotten thought. The gun. I tried not to move too fast. I was still a bit wobbly, knees buckled like a young fawn. I fell to my knees and went to grab it. The black steel had absorbed the heat of the desert sun. It nearly hissed as it made contact with my hand. I had never held a gun before. There was an unexpected weight to it. Something so small could harm so many. I fiddled with the slide and some of the switches. I managed to release the mag. It was empty. Sliding the rack back, I could see one in the chamber. Sounds right. The easy way out. No, I could use this. Maybe to hunt, or if I ran into one of those thugs, I could take one out. But who was I kidding? I didn't have the aim, and I couldn't practice. I put the safety on, tucked it in my belt, grabbed my supplies, and started my march. Sweat dripping down my hair and onto my face. Every drop stung as it dripped onto my nose. I pushed forward, discombobulated in shock and awe on how quickly things change. Not even 12 hours ago, I'd been in my apartment with a sweatshirt and blankets, in a perfect comfort as my AC blew, unable to realize how good I had it. The trek droned, minutes, miles, all blurred into a straight line. My only true marker was the boulder, now long behind me, hidden in the heat lines. I had been walking for hours, and it was starting to take its toll. My body had already been beat to shit, but now exhaustion was added to the equation. I was gonna have to rest. There wasn't much shade, but I sat on a flat rock. I took handfuls of the trail mix and scarfed it down. The salt did not help my already chapped lips. I would need water. I dreaded this moment. I thought maybe I could separate it, but with it sitting there in the heat for hours, there was no getting around it. I just closed my eyes and chugged. Slimy and salty, but water was needed. The vultures continued their circle overhead. They could wait all they wanted. I knew I could make it. Doing the math in my head, I was trying to figure out how far they had taken me. I don't know for sure because I was knocked, but there's several satellite cities around. I could wait until nightfall and look for lights. I had a goal. I could do this. "Eat up, Ray. Your food will get cold." The soft voice of my mother soothed like velvet. "I'm sorry. I'm not that hungry. I poked at my steak with my fork. Come on now, you're just skin and bones. I'm sure you can have a bite. She gave me a small, hurt smile. When it all went south, she tried for 2 years to keep me sober, thinking I was clean. I let her down. I know. I will. I carved a slice and took a bite. I gagged with every bite. It wasn't disgusting. Everything was hard to keep down. You know they're hiring at the bank, she said, looking down. I'm sure that'll work out. Jobs were hard to find and even harder to keep. The bank would take one look at my vast job history and background and decline. You've been doing everything to better yourself, Ray. I believe in you. Her warm smile lit the room. Think about it. You're on medication. You're talking to professionals. You'll get there, sweetie. I hadn't been. I kept the first bottle I got and would fill it with oxycodone. She never knew, just figured I was the way I was because of the Riley situation. Sure, Ma. I'll try. I knew I wouldn't, but the fear of letting her down again led to the second time. The night I OD'd, she found me in the room. My mouth was foaming. She couldn't believe it when they told her what I had in my system. She noticed the bottle was old and connected the dots. I broke her heart. She gave up on me. She didn't want me at her house, so she rented the cheapest apartment she could find. I guess in her own way, she didn't want her little boy on the streets. I can't help you if you can't help yourself. Her words echoed through my mind as the vast open space devoured the sound around, leaving the soft steps of my feet in the sand as my only companion. The reverberation of a gunshot snapped me out of my daydream as scattering birds took off to the sky. Toffer. I was so close, yet not close enough. I upped my pace, as much as my battered body would allow. God, I'd been in my own little world. I'd forgotten the other person that was still in the same boat as me. The strain on my calves as my dehydrated muscles began to cramp. I couldn't stop. I needed to get to him. I could see a large boulder much like the one I was shackled to. As I approached, I heard it. The slight, weak, gurgled breath. I got around the rock to see him, the job half done. I collapsed to my knees, angry if he would have held on a bit longer, or I could have been a bit quicker. I sat by him, by his side, trying to comfort him as best I could. We were one and the same, no matter how we both were knocking on death's door, but too afraid to enter his home. He had wanted someone else to do it, and I'm sure this was his fear. I wanted to keep him company, but I didn't want him to suffer. I could help him with his pain, as much as I didn't want to. It's what he would have wanted. Through teary eyes, I drew the gun and took aim. I wanted to close my eyes or look away, but I couldn't risk missing, for his sake. The gun steel felt especially heavy with the dread of pulling the trigger behind it. It was hard to read any expression on his mangled face other than misery. In another life, there could be millions of opportunities to thrive and push on, but he had reached an end. I'm so sorry. I exhaled as I fired. His head kicked back, and his weak breath stopped. The smell of death induced vomiting. I heaved up the last remnants of my stomach, bile and a few nuts, as my mind swirled. Even if it was a mercy killing, I had taken someone's life, but too scared to take my own. The only sound left was the ringing in my ears. I felt a hollowness I wasn't accustomed to. Desperate times for desperate meat. I had done his bidding. His water bottle sat beside him, tucked in a shadow. The seal hadn't even been broken. The only good news to come from this. I dug in his pockets, not to scavenge, but to see if I could find any identification. I did my best to check each pocket while avoiding looking at him. Empty. I don't know why I was expecting anything different. My own pockets had been cleared out too. There's a misconception about what I've seen, about the actions I thought would cure me. We weren't weak for our decisions. Him going through with it, me not being able to. I wasn't weak because I couldn't do it. I had the strength to keep pushing, even if I didn't know why, and he had the raw, underlying power to do the unthinkable. I don't envy him. I just hope he's where he wants to be. I sat by him, wishing we could have talked through our issues. Maybe we could have been friends. But the sun, indifferent, continued to pelt me with UV. The sun, a beacon of hope, the reason life is possible. It's a miracle how perfect our circumstances are. Far enough not to be torched, close enough not to freeze. But 12 hours of its constant presence makes me wish I could snuff it out like a candle flame. I needed to get going. I said goodbye to Toffer. I walked forward as the buzzards lingered behind, finally getting the meal they craved. I could have shooed them away, but I knew they'd be back. As much as it pained me, I had to go. I kept my beatless march, a zombie shuffling through the wasteland in desperation for life. Then I saw it. The heat mirage. Asphalt. Just before nightfall. I still had a long way to go, and I didn't know which way to turn. It was a coin toss. I chose to head north. It was hard to think about the pain I was in. I held my broken thumb, feeling every heartbeat. I was so lightheaded. Most of the day had passed in a blur. The sun dipped below the horizon. As the orange sky turned black, the heat vanished with it. My arms were so badly burned that the chill wind cracked against them like whips. A glow of headlights overtook my vision as a tow truck came hurtling towards me. It slammed on its brakes when it saw me, thumb up. I heard the lock pop and opened the door. A husk of a husk crawled into the passenger seat. I could barely whisper a thank you before we started moving, opposite the direction I had been walking. Dumbfounded, I saw the lights of the city on the horizon. I had been going the wrong way. The driver had a cold disposition. He didn't say a word. There's another out there. Talking was an exercise on its own. I know. He said it with a hollowness. It took a moment to comprehend. I was back in their game. I clawed at the lock. He glanced at me, a brow raised. I stopped. There wasn't much I could do, and I wasn't about to fling myself from a moving vehicle. I poised myself, sitting upright, staring at the road. After a few minutes, he slowed, pointing silently. There were tracks, deeper ruts right off the road. Then he picked up the pace again. I tried to piece it together and realized the city was only 10 miles away. If I hadn't followed the tracks, I could have been out in a couple of hours. Instead, I had followed the road they paved for me. He saw the realization on my face and let out a quick scoff. I felt so stupid. A slight dip in the valley had hidden it all from me. I didn't have any fight left. I sat and waited. I wanted to sleep, but I couldn't. Not in the maw of the lion. Why did you do this? No answer. Where are you taking me? No answer. I killed him. You made me a killer! I didn't expect an answer. I just wanted it said. No answer. Just a shit-eating grin grow on his face. I wondered what was planned for me. Bold of him, really. I could still have had the gun. He must have known. Or maybe he wanted to see what would happen. He drove past the downtown district to the same parking garage. He parked, and the door ripped open. The suit and horsehead grabbed me, throwing me to the ground before climbing into the truck themselves. Before they drove off, the window rolled down. "Hey, Ray! Welcome back to the land of the living!" They tossed my wallet, phone, and keys around me, then sped away. No license plate. I sat in silence, confused. What was any of this? What was the point? I managed to get help and was taken to the hospital. Severe concussion, severe dehydration, broken thumb, 3rd-degree sunburn. But I was alive. My mom came to visit. I couldn't help but apologize. I told her I was going to better myself, and I intended to keep that promise. For her, for Riley, for Toffer. They weren't able to identify our captors, despite everything I gave them. Phone numbers, descriptions, vehicle details, it all came back empty. I searched for the website. It was gone. I called the number. Disconnected. Some burner phone with a throwaway name. They couldn't connect any dots. The only piece I found was giving directions on where to find Toffer. They buried him next to his parents. I started a group for those who were down and out. I didn't expect many to show, but I was pleasantly surprised anyone did. They saw me as a survivor. I guess I am, but I am powered by those before me. I used to think death was the only way to stop the pain, that if I disappeared, the weight I carried would vanish too. But the truth is, the pain doesn't die with you. It echoes, in those who cared, in the places you once stood, in the empty chair at the dinner table. I was ready to be forgotten, to leave nothing behind. But something happened out there. Something cruel and ugly and real. I saw what it meant to give up, and I saw what it meant to survive. Toffer didn't make it. Riley didn't get the chance. I did. I don't know why. Maybe that's the punishment. Or maybe it's a second chance. I'm still haunted. I still hear the laughter, still taste the blood, still wonder if I'm really out of it, or if this is just another level of the game. But today, I opened my eyes. I saw sunlight that didn't burn. I spoke to someone and they listened. And for the first time in a long time, I wanted to live. Not for redemption, not to be a hero, but because I can. I don't know where the roads lead next, but I'll keep walking it, one step at a time.